Good morning. Happy day after Thanksgiving. Gobble, gobble. Give me a minute. We'll get set up and we'll get to it. Ba-dum-bum-bum. Ba-dum-bum-bum. All right, got that up. Let me throw in some music, get you some tunes. I should be doing it. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. All right, let's see if we can do this with the camera. I don't think we're doing a camera today, guys. I can't get the lighting right where I'm at. So no camera today. No bonding. Sorry, guys. All right. Very simple day. ES is closed. Very little to say or do about that. With the ES closed, like there's just not a lot, pardon me, that you need to really do there. So let me just make sure that it picked up the right mic, and then I'll be good. Yep, you picked up the right mic. All right. So the ES is closed. I don't really see a lot to do there. Futures held. I'm not even going to put charts out or chart it because you don't know where you're going to open. It's a waste of time. I feel the same way about the NQ. And that's kind of where my head is here. Like, I just don't want to do anything with it. It does point me in a really precarious position, even trading today, because they said they were going to open it. I think they said 8, and obviously that got pushed back. I wouldn't be surprised if they just push it all out to Sunday night. Technically speaking, you look fine, but until you open, you have no idea where we're going to open. So I don't really want to buy anything or do anything. And then, I'm stepping into like a train wreck as everything, is unbalanced and it becomes an issue. Give me a second. I'm going to try and shut some of this stuff to get this to work a little better. Just do that. Maybe that'll work better. Shut a couple of the doors, just maybe that'll make the echo go away, or maybe you guys can't even hear the echo. So, but in regards to the market, you're wedged in, and I guess we can go and talk about this because it's important. You still have your put wall down here. I don't see you breaking that. I don't see you getting through your call wall today. Like I don't see any of this happening. I think if you looked at this from a different perspective, and we just said, all right, well, what do we really have to focus on? You're up here on that call wall. That's not going to change today, like at all. So I don't think there's a lot to say or do about that. This is one of those days where people can get really hurt because they try and do too much. So I think you're better off understanding that you're probably not getting through 620 today. I doubt you're coming down to 590. If you start looking at where your big levels are, your peak VWAP is here. I don't think you're going to get through 610 today, which also coincides now with this 10 level. So I don't really see a reason to think or do anything about it. Now, you could always come here and, all right, I mean, who cares, right? So I just don't feel like there's a lot to do. If we go take a look at the 4-hour and look at it from that standpoint, okay, we still have this wall up here. If you look at the RSI, you're getting to overbought, but it's perfect because you're breaking out here. So I think Monday would be a much, much better day to pay attention and then kind of go from there. So I don't know. That's where my head is. Now, if I go take a look at the SPY, I don't think there's much more to say, but I have this VWAP set up. I'm sorry, volume profile. I'm sorry. Volume profile set up from previous. And I just dropped it from the peak over, and it does change, but it will change with, how it moves. It'll be anchored to a very specific port, and you're running right into this area again, which is that point of control up here from that high, and you're rejecting. So I don't know that you have to like go, oh, I really got to get involved. I think that you might have some kind of pullback, and then, try to regroup, and maybe the point of control drops down. And then you get underneath of it and go from there. But overall, I don't see the sense in, doing anything. It'd be great if like this area becomes the new point of control and then you're under it. You really want to be under it and have it as support instead of like sitting on above you. But that's really how I see things. And I don't really think that you should be considering the idea that you're going to break out of that today. You're right there. So I'm just leaning towards like non-event on the indexes. And I just don't see people doing a lot with the indexes today, considering what's going on with the futures market being shut down. So I think that's, running into those problems. I think that's a big deal. If you look on more of 5, you're starting to try to get these areas that are in there. What do you got for me, John? 832. Okay. So I really think that that's super important to get. I just don't see it. So, maybe we break out, maybe we don't, but I I, I think that I don't see it. Like anything can happen, right? Like anything, but I really don't see that. So I see us probably staying below that today, and at least until they open the futures market, if they even open it. Okay, they look like they opened it, right? Okay, so they're going to try and get it together. This will be fun. See how this goes. So they did open it. All right, you're open. Open. Hold on one second here. So they are opening it. They did open the futures market. It's actually better if they do open it now versus see what we got. Yeah, I just think you're going to get people that just get me out. If they're up, they're going to just sell it and let it all rebalance, I think. So, I mean, once it picks a direction, that's probably it, at least for now. So I would just watch. So it's just another wrinkle in a day like today, which usually means to me, do very, very little. But let's see. All right, so this will be fun. So they're going to open the futures market for the NASDAQ, but they didn't open it for the ES. Okay. Well, this is fantastic. And they opened the RTY. So why wouldn't you just buy SPY then? Because it's very clear what they're going to do, that they're going to gap it all up, right? Did that move? Yeah, it did. All right, so it moved there. All right. Okay, this is going to be a fun day. Days like today, guys, just be careful. That's all I can say about if you're going to trade the indexes. It doesn't look like they opened the ES here. And if they did, they didn't update it on TradingView yet. So I don't think ES is not open. But hold on, what's this do? So I think it looks like NQ and are open, but ES is not open. Yep, there you go. I mean, anybody short's probably in a freaking panic. Man, they really went out of that Oracle, huh? I'm going to do a lot of questions today. I think and let's go from there. Let's see if I can get silver. See if silver's open. No, silver's not open. I don't think you should. I mean, it really seems. All right, so there we go. So ES is open. So ES did open. What a weird day. To see if SI open. these kinds of days when you have these kinds of imbalances and you don't know if you're going to get more of them, you got to be super careful trading because you really don't know what's real and what's a real bid and what's not and what people are just acting on just to get the heck out of stuff. You got to be super, super careful. So, but these are great days to take the day off. Great days. Let's just start going through all this stuff. What's up, John? SPY up to since spring. Argentinian names. Yeah, I mean, a lot of those earnings look like they're going to do the same, very similar thing. And I do agree with that. So we came all the way back down. We worked it off. They had the earnings. The earnings are them. Once again, they don't have these write-offs anymore because of the bank debt. So all the bank debt's changing. So yeah, I mean, these things can go again. They probably look like one big trade again, right? They all came out. Everybody got giddy when he got in again, or like had his parliament come in, right? And then the thing ripped. Nobody expected it. And since then, they've all come back and retested those areas and held those areas. So I think that's a really good thing for these stocks. If you want to hold them from that, that's great. I don't think it's the worst idea in the world because, now he's got a real mandate there and he's got the real power behind it. So, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. You really look at where these things went to and where they came back to, can you get back up there? I'm not really sure, but you start going through them all, they look pretty good. Argentina in and of itself, the undercut and then the rip back up. Yeah, I think it's great. I really do. And you're probably going to see more of that, building. So, so let's just see what happens here. But yeah, I agree with that assessment. The Morgans and like all that stuff. I mean, the biggest problem for me with these kinds of trades, and I'm going to close this off for a minute. Just wanted to see how we were going to really open. The biggest problem for me with this kind of stuff is I don't really see the hurry to get in. And when I look at this stuff, I've got like the double negative here where they're putting the top in and we're going sideways. And they've been doing this stuff for a while. So, and it doesn't mean that you can't like 296 to, 317 that you're not going to make money. But I don't really have like this area where I'm like, oh, I really got to buy this. So like if you're going to like really go, oh, I really got to buy JP Morgan, it's like when it blows up, when JP Morgan really blows up, like that's when people should be buying it. Down here at like $70 or, when you fell apart again at like $100, like that's really where like you look at this stuff and go, oh, I really want to buy this thing and forget I own it on these huge dips. That's what I've found over time. Like I don't really see the reason why I have to commit capital to this, but I don't know. That said, from a trading standpoint, sure, maybe it has a shot. Maybe they all have a shot, but once they start cutting rates, yeah, all that stuff will lift. I just don't know that you're there yet. So I look at like XLF, and I see it where you're trying to get back above that 55, but the 55 is still declining. So I'm not really like rushing into that. You see it with the SOX, where the SOX is at least up. Right? XLF's not up. KRE, right? You're still declining, even though you're pointing up. So I'm a little apprehensive there with anything like that. I'm not really crazy about those trades yet. What's up, Tariq? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. These guys really got to get this stuff under control. What do you got? Yeah, I'm not. This is not a big day for me to trade gold. This is one of those days where people do trades and then nothing acts the way that they think it's going to. It's not really for me. Like all the inflows stopped, all the volume stopped. It all kicked off when it stopped here. They're going to try to get you back over that 388. Maybe they do. And technically speaking, long term, you're still intact. You're completely intact, and you're just building a base. So I don't think you have to do anything there, but I don't really see much that you have to do there. Let's keep going here. Yeah, and you might get that. Kohl's. So I think if you look at some of these names, like Kohl's makes zero sense that it's not even up more to me. It never did. I mean, I've been pretty vocal about this. I have a position in this. I'm not really doing anything. Well, that's not true. I am trading around a secondary position in it. I do have a core position. I'm just not going to sell. I think people would do very well to look at this thing and understand that, the book value of the company, tangible book value is $33. Like, it makes no sense where this thing was trading, like zero. I've been saying this for a long period of time with some of these retail names. They're so beaten down. It's crazy. And I'm not a value guy, but when you're buying companies that are trading at 10 times earnings, people are like shocked that these things are exploding. I don't think people understand how bad retail names got, specifically the apparel names. So, I think this going to 33 is pretty darn easy. Getting back, at least touching tangible book value eventually, is pretty simple. So on the day, probably 25. I don't know that you're going to get through the call wall. I love the name. It can't get out of its own way. Anything that can't get out of its own way, that can't even get above the bar from that Thursday drop, I have no interest in adding to, like zero. I have a position in it. I've done okay with the position. I bought it. It went up one day. I trimmed that day it went up. I'm using 81 as my stop, and I use the close. You should use what you're comfortable with. Not everyone can do that or wants to do that. You're above the 12, but where are you really going? It comes back to this open bar right there where you opened that day on the 9th. And then that became what? Support. It flipped to resistance. It hasn't looked back. So when you look at it, I mean, this is really what you're dealing with right now. So do you want to, when you look at that, you have to make a decision. Like, do you really want to deal with that or not? Not everybody's going to want to deal with that until it breaks out above that control bar right here and sets, this is the way we're going, 105. And there's nothing wrong with that, waiting. But yeah, you don't have it's not perfect. That's for darn sure. Like, you got some stuff there. So, you might want to watch. You did break this DTL, but then you never really followed through. So it all boils down to, even if you looked at that like smaller DTL, it all boils back to the same thing. You have to flip the top of that. But that's how I see it right now. I don't know there's much more to do there with that one until it figures it out. CIFR, these little guys like this, they're definitely holding up a little bit better. I just don't know that I want to be in this stuff until I really figure out what's going on with the market. I see how they held those levels, but like all of them look the same. Like maybe I'll flip. Let's clean it all off. Maybe I'll flip. Maybe I'll get above it. But do I really want to be that? I don't know. I'd be looking at the ones that are above the 55 because they're getting attention. But when they blow out of like the smaller stuff, they really blow out of it. And it doesn't make any sense. Like Sky T, like everybody had to be in this one, right? And now look, let's go back to that. Now look at it. Like, I mean, it just absolutely crushed. And now you're down $10 on these names. And it's got nothing to do with the company as a whole. It's just that the company in and of itself is super thin. So you came out, you crushed, earnings crushed, stock explodes because everyone understands what it is. And then this is what you get. So the AVGO makes a lot of sense to me because I still don't think people get it. I don't know that you have to do it today. This moved up to here. So, but I don't know that today's your special day that you have to get involved there. I don't know that that's definitely the way to view it. For me, anyway, I don't know that you have to rush into this. Going through the questions. See what I got here. That's where I'm at. I'm in North Carolina right now. Happy Friday. I don't think so. I think you're setting yourself up for failure until you know what's going to happen with MSCI. I really do feel that way. I think MSCI is going to they're going to throw them out. And I don't know how much of that's baked in, but I looked at trying to buy it the other day. And then I was looking at like, I really wanted to short it again. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to avoid it until I get a better read on what's truly going to happen there. And I don't know that you're going to get that great of a read on it. So, you know, to me, less is more today, man. It really is. Like I always say this and then go from there, but I think less is more. So like the TJX, I don't understand this story. I mean, maybe it was really good. You sold straight down on it. Looked fine to me. I think a lot of these retailers, when people are trying to understand them, they're selling them down and then they're buying them right back. I don't know, man. I wouldn't put it past it. I don't know that that's the one I'm going to look at though. Whenever I have halts like that, on futures markets and stuff like that, I do very, very little, like very little these days on trading. And the reason for that is I have no idea what kind of imbalance is out there. You know, I just want to kind of like let it all settle in. That's really where my head is with it all. Like, I don't really want to do much at all. I just want to let it all settle in, and then maybe I'll get involved. But overall, yeah, I don't do much on these days. You know, I kind of just let them sort themselves out. You know, I find that to be the best way to deal with them, because I don't know who hedged, who's got options, you know, what they're going to do with it. You couldn't have bought options when it broke, but you still could have done something with the ETFs. And then you might want to wait for the cash open to unwind. And I don't know what I'm going to get. So again, I do very little. And then do I really want to trade for the next 3 hours on a light volume market when I just had futures halted? You know, the only thing you really probably want to do is sell the extremes. Like from an option standpoint or from a trading standpoint, like if something pops up a lot, you probably just want to short it. If something falls apart a lot, you probably want to buy it. So like, here, like no bonding today. So like, I'll give you an example where like everyone's selling Oracle today, right? Oracle bad. You know, let's say Oracle, like they puke it out at 185 again. I'll be foaming at the mouth to get involved. Like that kind of stuff today. Yeah, like that I would do. But you know, do I need to buy Micron that's up 3% or SanDisk up 4%? Not really. No. I think you're better off also looking at how you're going to position yourself for the end of the how you're going to position. What's up, Jacob? How you're going to position yourself for, you know, next week, which is really what I think you should be doing. I think this is a great day to look at how you're going to position yourself for next week. And if I take a look at this, like Dell, like I don't know why I would do anything there. I don't see, like, forget my VWAP for a second. I don't know why I would do anything with this. Like, what is the purpose? I don't know, man. I'm not feeling that at all. Maybe you get some movement on options. I can't stress that, you know, less is more today. I just can't do that. What's up, Steven? Yeah, you know, it seems like you're trying to put that whole trade back on, doesn't it? You know, it's funny because I was thinking this too. Like, it seems to me they're putting that whole thing back on very quietly. Let's get rid of this. So, say you held that level, right? And now you're starting to hit the higher highs. Hold on, let me get rid of it. So you're hitting the higher highs already, like how this is already based and lifting. So I don't know. I'm looking at these kinds of names like LEU. I don't think this is over by a long shot. CCJ. Anything that has actual real earnings, I think that they're the names that are probably going to hold. I don't know about OKLL. I don't know what's going to happen there. I was shorting that OKLL and I was doing exceptionally well with it. And then I just closed it one day at like 32 this day or something, like one day, 29 or 32. I closed it. This day I did. I'm like, it was ridiculous because I made so much on it. I'm like, I'm out. I'm probably going to regret that a month from now because this thing will just trade into oblivion. It's also like looking at stuff like this again, like RGTX. Like this stuff can't really get off the ground. It's trying, but it really can't. Like RGTI. Let it all rally up and then probably put those shorts on. But in regards to uranium, Stephen, I don't think it's over, but I think it's going to be I think they're going to go back into those leaders. LEU makes the most sense out of all of those long-term to me. You know the space better than I do, dude. Yeah, but it retested that gap. I think that's the most interesting thing about that trade, don't you? Like, we came down to that level and we retested it and then we held it. So I find that the most interesting thing about it, out of everything, that you could have broken and gap filled. You didn't. You came right to that level and you held that level. So, it's, if you get rid of the candlesticks and everything, you just look at it, like, there's the low. There's where you are. There's your open. There's your close, open, close, open. Like it's not rocket science what they did there. So they came down to there and retested it. Sometimes it's easier to see that without the candles. Thanks, John. 8:55. Let's keep going here. Bro, I wouldn't trust Tom Lee with my coffee order, let alone what I'm doing in the market. I'm too cranky this morning. No filter. I really like Oracle here. The problem with Oracle is the same problem with Microsoft. They hitch themselves to OpenAI, which is probably going to turn into a shopping site. So, they have these orders outstanding. How much of Oracle's order flow that they've stated is really going to be OpenAI? Because OpenAI is never going to come out with this $1 trillion CapEx, like ever. And it's becoming very clear that a lot of what he's doing is just smoke and mirrors. So there's some of the statements he's made, some of the statements the CFO have made. There's just outright delusion. So, and I know people are like, oh, they're just big thinkers. No, there's big thinkers that actually do things. Like you can say that about Elon, like, oh, he's delusional, but he's actually done things. I'm not saying ChatGPT hasn't, it's not fantastic. It is, but you're not going to take $12 billion and come out and someone's going to lend you $1 trillion to go and buy stuff, and the government's not going to backstop you. So with tax dollars, so you can become a billionaire. I'm sorry. So let's keep going here. See what else we got. So I think that's the problem there with Oracle. I think Oracle back at 185 makes a lot of sense. Baba's a pig. Baba's going to be in a lot of trouble, like always. BABX is the way to short it, right? This is what I do. You should do what you're comfortable with, but this is such an easy short. Oh, rallied up. Oh, Baba forever. Thank you. And it just bleeds out. It's like that, like that movie, whatever. All right. I did a trade in FCX where I bought it and then I just buried it when they came out and said that they knew when their data centers, when these things were going to be fixed. I forget what day I did it. I threw it in an account and I've left it in there ever since. What I tend to do with this kind of stuff is realize that there's always an overreaction and then there's that bounce off that overreaction, right? So here's the reaction and you can see it. I think you just want to ride the wave with it. I don't know that you have to get into that stuff, but it's patience more than anything. It's really patience with that trade, man. I don't know if they just seem shady. It's just first off, it's nowhere near as good as Claude. That's the very first thing. And it's certainly nowhere near as good as Gemini 3 when you start playing with it. And so he even came out, like Sam Altman even came out and said about ChatGPT 5. He's like, oh yeah, it's not as good as 4. Like, well, why did you even put it out? Like, so he seems to be trying to make all these deals and I don't get what they're trying. Like, I try to figure out what he's doing, because it's not about making the product better. Like, oh, we're going to partner with Shopify. Well, that's not, somehow, like, this is the thing that should get you about all this stuff. Like, they say, like, when you look at OpenAI, right? And that's like what Microsoft partnered with. Somehow we went from super intelligence that's going to be, OpenAI is going to have super intelligence, and it's going to be this, huge thing, and it's going to be able to outthink us. It's going to be like having a doctorate candidate in your house, and like having your own doctor and this and that. And then, like, now we're in November, and it's like, oh, we're partnering with Shopify, so you can just click right here and buy, pajamas. Okay, when do I get my robot? Like, I thought we were all getting humanoid robots that were smarter than us. Now I can click on a link and buy my pajamas off of Shopify, off your site. Okay, cool. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't put a lot of faith in it. I think it's going to weigh on Oracle and all that stuff. And it's very clear to me that we're way, way further out from this stuff that we were all promised. Way further out. And so I do think CapEx numbers come in 26. And the question is, who's going to get hurt by that? I think that's why Meta's already going to TPUs too, because they see that they can do what they want to do probably cheaper, frankly. So, and I don't view it as a bad thing. I actually think it's a great thing, because it's going to dampen the cycle and extend the cycle. So from a long-term perspective, it's awesome. Amazon looks fantastic. So that's it, guys. I'm going to jump. Make good choices today. Have a good weekend. See ya.